This time we're in Chengdu. It is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. In the interior of the country, it's always been an isolated place, free from Western influence, and remains the most Chinese of China's megacities. Nearly 1,000 miles from Beijing, deep in the heartland, in Sichuan province, Chengdu is known as one of the culinary capitals of China. The food here is the hottest in China and increasingly famous all over the world for its distinctive, fiery flavors.
Incredible variety, yes.
We've come to Chengdu's spice market to explore the explosive tastes that make Sichuan food so unique.
This place is like the core, the heart, and the mothership of spicy Sichuan food.
The people here are obsessed with chilies, claiming they have a medicinal quality, driving out the cold, wet climate.
And you really feel like trying all of them because some of them I've never seen before.
I hope they're right because it really is damp here. Even the seeds of the chili, which we tend to avoid in the West, are sold here as a garnish.
They took the seeds out of the ones that are slightly off color, that aren't as desirable.
Oh my God.
So that's a lot of chili. 那这个怎么做菜？ Oh, they stir fry it. So it's dry toasting.
You would think this assault on their taste buds would be unbearable, but it's not all about chilies.
So big. Where do you start?
There's a second key ingredient that absolutely defines Sichuan food. This innocent-looking husk from the berry of the prickly ash bush is called the Sichuan flower pepper. It creates an incredibly intense numbing sensation that balances the chili heat of the food. It stimulates the taste buds, unleashing an explosion of flavors.
I don't know why I'm actually a little terrified of trying it because I've cooked with it so many times.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You wouldn't eat this.
It's really strong, really numbing heat, much stronger than what we have in the UK.
It's these authentic local flavors that I've come here to cook with and master.
The fragrance of lavender taste is unbelievable.
I know, lavender and a little citrus spice to it.
I haven't been here for almost 24 years, and now I realize how much I just miss this fragrance.
There are not many places in the world where cooking is so dominated by just a few key spices. We want to begin our exploration of these fascinating complex flavors where some of the most authentic food can be found. Here in these ramshackle restaurants hidden away in the alleys and back streets of the city. To help us track down one of the best, we've enlisted the help of Jenny Gao, a food writer raised in Canada but born in Chengdu. She's taking us to a restaurant in the old part of the city that is due for redevelopment.
So this is the famous fly restaurant named Tea, and it started off just a couple of tables, but as its popularity grew, more and more tables were added. It, as you see, it's spilled out onto the street.
Called fly restaurants, apparently because of their rough and ready approach to hygiene. These places have always been the soul of the food culture here.
Wow. Oh, wouldn't it be fun to cook in this kitchen? It's just chaos. So it's got chili bean paste,
chili
it's got some garlic
and chili.
and ginger. Muffins, the fragrance.
Yes, the roar of the wok. How intense it is.
Yeah.
I'm desperate to cook with all these amazing spices, but first I want to taste how the chefs combine chili and Sichuan flower pepper to create the distinctive numbing heat they call ma la.
For all these dishes, you won't get like a very strong sensation of like very mild, very light. But eventually, after you start eating more and more, you start to feel it.
I can feel it.
Feel it on your tongue and on your lips, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my mouth is on fire.
One of the most famous local dishes is mapo tofu, a regional classic made with tofu and usually ground beef or pork. But here at Mingting, it has a surprising alternative ingredient.
We're tricking you by putting in a little bit of pig brain in there as well.
Pig brain?
Pig brain.
Pig brains with tofu?
Yeah, dig in.
Despite my dad keeping pigs when I was young in Taiwan, I'd never developed the Chinese love of brains.
That's a generous bit of brain. Oh my god, goodness me. This is a first for me. I can clearly say I've had probably all bits of offal.
Yeah.
But not brain.
Not brain?
Feeling a bit funny, actually.
Think of it as tofu.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. It's really creamy.
Yes,
Creamy.
It reminds me of like fragua.
absolutely.
Pig brain is actually very popular in Sichuan, as is the brain of a lot of animals.
Yeah, I think I'll stick to the tofu.
Yeah, really?
Right.
Mapo tofu is one of my favorite dishes, and I really want to test out the authenticity of my version on the chefs at Mingting.
So I'm going to prep my ingredients here. So
Like many Sichuan recipes, garlic, ginger, chili bean paste, and of course a pinch of that ground Sichuan flower pepper are exploded in hot oil to release their fragrance. Like most of the dishes we'll cook on our travels, it's easy to do at home. It's a little unnerving though to have such an expert audience, particularly because I'm adapting the house special, swapping the pig's brains for Chinese long beans and pickled bamboo, although you could use leeks and shallots.
now, in with my beans. In with the bamboo shoots. I'm going to season it now with a little bit of soy. In with the tofu.
That looks absolutely beautiful.
You can get ground Sichuan flower pepper in Chinese supermarkets in the UK or online, and don't be afraid to experiment to get that balance with the chilies just right.
Beautiful. So
Very good, very good.
Very good.
Very good. Very good. 谢谢你。
我觉得你们每天晚上好幸福。
I love the atmosphere in this place, and it's heartening to see that traditional cooking is safe in the hands of these young chefs.
我听说
And even though Mingting's present location is soon to be redeveloped, Chef Wu Jing and his staff are positive about the future.
另外找一家做就行了。
he's going to just follow his boss, and wherever his boss opens next, that's where he will go. 真的 respect to Sichuan.
Sichuan.
Cheers, 干杯。
The next morning, we've arranged to meet Jenny on the outskirts of the city. Chengdu is at the center of the government's Go West policy. It's invested $300 billion to spark an economic boom in Western China, on a par with Beijing and Shanghai.
Can you imagine this whole area? Most of these buildings were not here.
When I was here in 1989, it was still a fairly primitive place. Many of the streets were little more than dirt roads, and people brought produce in from the countryside on carts pulled by donkeys. Now, Chengdu has a population of 14 million and the fastest rate of urbanization in the world. In the next decade, it's expected to increase by nearly 1 million people every year.
There it is. That's the hotel.
Oh,
That's the hotel I stayed in. It was the tallest building in Chengdu. That's it. And you see now, it's dwarfed by all these other buildings.
Yes, and they keep building. Look how many cranes there are over there.
It's just amazing. I thought it would be a lot of change, but not sort of this much. It's shocking at the beginning because it's a sleepy backwaters here. You expect that from Shanghai and Beijing, but not from Chengdu.
Jenny's been kind enough to invite us to her grandparents' home, where she spent her early childhood.
My cousins and I used to come and we would, get together for family lunches, dumplings and noodles.
It's exciting for me, as I've always believed the best cooking is in the home, and a taste of family life is a great way to get beneath the skin of a city.
Visit. So these are my grandparents. My grandfather.
Jenny's grandparents are in their 80s, and as is traditional in Chinese culture, one of their sons lives at home and takes care of them with his wife, Jenny's aunt.
I love her hat.
哦，是是啊，我没搞清楚，你到底是好大？80岁。你把哦，84，I'm sorry，我跟他们说你是75岁。My grandmother's
chilly, isn't it?
Yeah. So the reason why it's so cold indoors is because there's no central heating in Sichuan.
There isn't?
South of the Yangtze, all of the provinces don't actually have central heating because I guess the government figures it's not cold enough to need it.
So do they wear coats indoors then?
Yes, exactly. And in the winter, everyone wears coats, scarves, hats, the whole thing.
Thank God for the walk and cooking then.
While Chin gets to know the family, I really want to see the local market and join Jenny's aunt on her daily trip to buy fresh ingredients.
主要是我们来晚了，然后这些菜呢，好多都收摊了。
Most days she's here at the crack of dawn to get the best produce. She spends around 5 hours each morning shopping and preparing lunch for her family. I offer to help out with a dish of my own.
More sausages.
And I'm on the lookout for inspiration. It's a struggle though to understand the local dialect.
多少钱一斤呐？高丽鱼。对，我来，我这里来，我这里来，我这里来。不然，我们这里要讲究的。对。
So typical Chinese.
你们来者是客，来者是客。
Embarrassed.
I've always loved markets, and in China, they're a particular pleasure. Chaotic, and despite the government's pledge to improve food safety, I can't see many fridges.
Oh, did you see this fish steak? Live. This is how Chinese want freshness. They want to make sure the fish is really fresh. Look at this fresh frogs.
这是鱼，还有鳝鱼都在里面。对。
Turtles, of course.
I spotted some rabbit, a specialty in Sichuan. The Chinese actually produce more rabbit than any other country, although they export most of it.
就拿那么多，好多钱？
What they've done is quickly blanch it in hot water and they pull the skin off, which is how rabbit is done.
条都安逸的。
You would not see this in Beijing or Guangzhou or anywhere I've been in China. I mean, duck, chicken, of course, you see that everywhere, but certainly not rabbit. And they just love it. It's a great protein. It's a sustainable food, and it was quite poor here, which is why they eat rabbit.
While Ken's at the market, Jenny's grandmother is showing me her traditional method for making pickles. She first adds to the pickling water garlic, chili and salt, and then uses a method I haven't seen before. 2 types of rock sugar, a lot of Sichuan pepper, and instead of vinegar, she's adding baijiu, a local 50% proof spirit, a bit like a sweeter version of vodka. Pickles are incredibly popular in China and are an easy way to preserve vegetables. When I was a child in Taiwan, I used to have them for breakfast with my grandmother.
的时候呢，以前你也是有做的，对啊，
经济条件就不一样，不像我要那个时候经济条件要差，这个国家的经济也不发达。
对对。
再然这子收入减少了，他也经常要做这些菜，就是做这些泡这些啊，就是零食可以吃，而才可以。
Jenny's grandmother always has a pot of pickles on the go, even today.
Can't wait to try those.
The pickling water is so strong that the vegetables are ready in just 24 hours. She serves them the traditional way, with a light drizzle of chili and Sichuan pepper oil, made from infusing hot oil with Sichuan peppercorns.
That is delicious.
So crunchy.
I've got now the chili, the numbing heat of that Sichuan pepper oil, and the little sour from the pickle. It's beautiful.
That's the beauty.
Thank you. 谢谢奶奶.
As soon as we return, Jenny's aunt gets straight to work on the lunch. I'm making a simple rabbit stir-fry, but you could use chicken for this dish. I'm using a marinade of soy sauce, sesame oil, with a coating of corn flour. It's usually best left for a couple of hours to take effect. I'm cooking the rabbit with garlic and the less spicy green chilies, as the flesh has a delicate flavor.
What people outside of China don't know is that even home cooks will heat the wok up until it's very, very hot before they add the oil. So I've heated it up for a few minutes now. This is good firepower. As you can see, it's smoking like this. Don't worry, you want this to be very hot.
You obviously have to be careful doing this at home. But if you pull the wok away from the heat, the flames would die down quickly.
This is the way, actually, you should be cooking it. This is what gives Chinese food its very, very special flavor. It seals in the juices. Now, it's very important is to take all this now and drain this. We add the garlic and the chilies. And instead of adding more oil, which is a mistake a lot of cooks make when they're not familiar with Chinese, we just add a little bit of this broth I made from the rabbit bones. And at the very end, I return the rabbit.
I'm only braising the rabbit meat for a couple of minutes. In the West, we usually aim for tenderness, but here people love chewy textures and really appreciate the feel of food in the mouth.
然后这兔肉呢又很有嚼头，非常的好吃。对。
Very Sichuanese then.
While Ken cooks, I'm enjoying spending time with the family.
I feel like I've come back home. Yeah, it's great. 想到他，跟你们今天在一起，其实是很开心呐。
I grew up in a small village with my grandparents in rural Taiwan. And then, when I was 5, left with my parents for South Africa. Finally arriving in the UK when I was 11 years old.
When I was growing up at school, I was never proud to be Chinese. All I wanted to do was, be English, and why can't I be more like my English friends, and wanted to dye my hair blonde and, be very Western. Now, Jenny should come and try some 小吃。
就是
一家人。对，一家人。
Over the years, cooking has helped connect me to my Chinese roots. So it feels important to make something for Jenny's family that for them feels authentically Sichuanese. Watching Jenny's aunt cook is really inspiring.
好锅味啊 She's making a boiled fish dish. Smells good. Your aunt is a really masterful cook. And she cooks in high heels. It's amazing.
I know.
It really is amazing. And so now she's sprinkling on the chili flakes. She's got some hot vegetable oil. Wow. That looks wonderful. I've never done it like that before. Sprinkle a dish with chilies and then just ladle hot sizzling oil on top. It's beautiful. It's really, I'm learning so much. It's wonderful.
I want to make a dish with traditional Sichuan flavors. I'm going to call it crispy, fragrant Sichuan sausage.
It's about experimenting. I do like to improvise sometimes because that's what I do at home.
First, I'm boiling some of Jenny's aunt's homemade sausages.
It is a Chinese cook's dream to have all these ingredients. But I'm going to use the woodier mushrooms because they're going to be lovely and crunchy.
Texture is always important in Chinese dishes, but if you like, you could use oyster mushrooms instead.
I've been pointed to these lovely pickled chilies. I'm going to keep the seeds because I know this family likes their food hot. Now these look like spring onions or scallions, but they're actually 酸苗, which is the garlic shoots.
The sausages should be ready after just 10 minutes of boiling.
可以拿来
煮汤。
但是我们
Shape is important. It's all about presentation and also cooking techniques. Same applies for vegetables. If you cut them on the angle, you expose more surface area. They'll cook a lot quicker in the wok. In with the garlic, and then in with all the sausages. I'm going to wok fry the sausages first so they get a bit crisp. This is what my grandmother would do. Cook all the ingredients separately and then bring it all together. It takes a little bit more time, but it's going to hopefully be worth it. And I'm just going to add the vegetables in now. All of them together at the same time. You do need to be careful, otherwise you'll set your hair on fire.
The cooked vegetables are set aside, and then inspired by Jenny's aunt's fish dish, I'm making a kind of hot oil dressing based on chili bean paste and Sichuan flower pepper.
It's sour, it's spicy, it's hot, it's numbing heat. So what I'm going to do is just throw this all back into the wok and toss it all together so that all the flavors are mixed in really well. Okay. That is my crispy, fragrant Sichuan sausage with woodier mushrooms, garlic shoots and pickled chili. And it's so hot. It's so numbing heat. This is the true Sichuan dish, I think. This is actually blow your head off good. I think I could give some of the fly restaurants a run for their money.
Jenny's aunt is treating us to the kind of feast the family only enjoys on special occasions. 30 or 40 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to afford so many meat and fish dishes. It's an amazing spread, including the water-boiled fish with its vibrant layers of hot oil, chili, and vegetables, braised eel with green peppers, and a delicious, unusual stir-fry shredded potato.
This is better than any restaurant, I can tell you. Home-cooked food. God, this is pretty impressive.
With so much amazing, authentic food on the table, I hope I've pulled off a dish that delivers the right balance of spice and numbing heat.
做出来了，真的很棒，非常相似我们四川的那种地道的川菜。啊，是吗？对对对，很好吃。
Phew. I can have another drink now.
We're now 3 days into our stay in Chengdu. Our time with Jenny's family was a fascinating glimpse into home cooking. But the next morning, Ching and I are on the lookout for some authentic street food.
That's brilliant. That's just brilliant.
That's fresh chicken.
Western chains are moving in here. McDonald's has 28 outlets, and 7-Eleven are planning to open a staggering 350 shops in Chengdu over the next 5 years. Even so, we don't have to look far to find some delicious Chinese fast food, like these traditional baozi buns.
Should we get some pork ones?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah?
Made from steamed bread, they're an incredibly popular snack throughout all of China. We saw in Beijing they have their version. Everybody has their version.
Yeah.
It's sort of like our sandwich.
Oh, it's just delicious.
In Cantonese, we only have the barbecue fork with no vegetables, and that was really nice. I took it to school. People were envious. They had these horrible, like
cold cut sandwiches, and I had this wonderful fragrant bao.
你有没有听过那个 Starbucks 咖啡厅 ？Starbucks 咖啡厅
Oh,
没
she's
有吗
unaware of it.
She said she's never heard of Starbucks.
Yeah. Even though China is modern, I don't think its food culture is in any way endangered by all these foreign fast food places, simply because there's a tradition of eating things like this.
Yeah.
The real threat to authentic food on the streets of Chengdu is the redevelopment sweeping through the city.
It's like a different planet.
Yeah.
They said China has half of the cranes in the world.
As the old neighborhoods are torn down, many of the street food stands have been moved here to Jinli Street, a purpose-built recreation of the old Chengdu.
So this is really modernized
It's
now.
modernized, but it's okay.
Oh, that looks good too. Like
They all look
advertises on-
good.
They all
That's
look
okay.
good. This is Sichuan delicacy.
Yes,
it's
that's
a
right.
dessert, right?
It's
a
glutinous
sweet.
rice balls.
Uh-huh. It's called 三大炮, 3 big
Yes.
bombs. It's to attract people to come traditionally with the sound of it.
The theme park atmosphere seems to have done nothing to dent the Chinese enthusiasm for unusual and wonderful snacks,
What is this?
like deep-fried rabbit's head.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Shall we try one? This is the rabbit head. Shall we try one?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, I think we should try one. Come on. I want to try this because I've never tried it before.
8块. Okay, so 8 yuan. That's like 80p.
It smells good. See, it's
Oh, that's a proper skull over there.
well. There's not much
No.
meat on it except for the cheek.
Oh.
You know what it tastes like? It tastes like
Okay.
a little bit like a ham.
She's saying you
She
should
said yes. Open this
it
up.
like a crab claw.
Oh, I
To
see.
reveal the meat. All right then. The seasoning and the spices on it are
that's what
really
makes it really good.
tasty, aren't they?
Yes.
And it does make something that is sort of a bit gross to eat delicious.
That's cultural. If you
Yeah.
grew up eating this, then it wouldn't be disgusting. Now, you know what Chinese used to find disgusting when Westerners eat big slabs of steak. They found that really disgusting. My mother used to recoil. She was like, "Oh God, how could they eat a big slab of cow like that?"
Ken may be keen on rabbit's head, but I want to show him what everyone in the city is really eating. It's a food tradition that will never be threatened, however fast the city grows, and it's one of the national dishes of China. This fiery, bubbling cauldron of broth is known as hot pot. You can order pretty much anything you like, but the catch is you have to cook it yourself. This is China's fondue, except they've been eating hot pots for thousands of years.
Hello, 你好。
Bamboo shoots. It's fantastic how they slice it. There's no cooking here because all they do is prep, right?
Right. 汤料.
Of course, this being Chengdu, they do a mean mala numbing heat version here, and I want to know exactly what goes into
Where they
it.
make all their soup bases. 你好.
Look at that pot of Sichuan peppercorn.
Wow, that's a lot of flower pepper.
The copper hot pot is shaped like the yin and yang symbol to represent the balance of the mild broth on one side and the spicy on the other.
So they put in dried chilies, and then he puts in the flower Sichuan pepper. 你们的花椒从哪里买的？是从哪一个？
There are many varieties of hot pot, but in this version, the yin side gets added flavor from a fish, tomatoes, and what looks like spam. It might seem a weird combination for Western tastes, but the buzz here is amazing. And it's clear that for the people of Chengdu, hot pot is just as important a social event as it is a meal. As if the hot pot wasn't already spicy enough, more stock and chili oil is brought to the table. That's a lot of chili oil. It's sealed in these bizarre clinical-looking bags, apparently to reassure the customer that the oil has not been recycled, a practice of some hot pot restaurants. But now that the government's beginning to crack down on food safety, reusing cooking oil has been banned.
It is making me hungry looking at the spicy red sauce.
It seems like we may have allowed the waitress to order too much food. But it was the heat from that lethal-looking broth that I really wanted to try.
谢谢.
It's not what I expected. It's not as spicy as I thought it would be.
Did you not taste the numbing heat? It's kind of like a delayed reaction.
It's a delayed reaction.
Yeah. It's really spicy.
Yeah, that's true. It's only when you say, oh, it's not hot, then you go, oh.
That numbing spice is really addictive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
After suffering Chengdu's damp and foggy climate, I think I'm beginning to understand why everyone's obsessed with this unique combination of spices.
I mean, it's amazing. The first few days when I was here, I felt my bones creaking. I thought, my God, I feel old for the first time. And I noticed since I've been eating this kind of food, my joints did not sort of creak the way they did the first day.
The climate might be damp here, but it's contributed to the area around Chengdu being so fertile that Sichuan is known in China as the land of abundance. But it's not only crops, it also supplies over half the country's pork. My dad kept pigs when I was growing up, so I'm looking forward to visiting a local pig farmer. I'm hoping to try my hand at some traditional pork dishes. Mr. Peng is different to most farmers in the region because his pigs are organic. Nearly 3/4 of all the meat eaten in China is pork. To the Chinese, pigs symbolize virility, and traditionally they've always been an important part of everyday life.
Wow, they're really hungry. Hello, Vicky.
And although the Chinese eat every part of the pig, they still get through nearly 2 million every day. With so much pressure to churn out pork, organic farming has not been a priority, so I'm happy to discover Mr. Peng is obsessive about his pigs' well-being. He produces and mixes his own feed and has a radical and unusual approach to their health.
不能用抗生素，就用中草药。这是中草药，这是草寇，这是草寇。
他们吃得这么好， I still can't believe they eat so well. 那个猪的
Mr. Peng's business started slowly, but in the last 5 years, due to food safety scares and the expanding middle class, the demand for organic food has quadrupled.
这是后腿的部分。
后腿。
我们熟悉也是拿它，就是这个在成都是很响的，有的家里面除了这个肉不吃的，真的。
He's invited me to his house to meet his wife and to have some supper. In return, I've offered to cook a dish for them.
这是我。
Mrs. Peng's prepared a whole selection of different cuts of their own pork, which she's boiled for 30 minutes. And before I cook, she wants to show me some classic home-style dishes. Starting with a much-prized cold salad.
不要了，好，因为比较脏，你看，比较脏，耳心里面。
这是平常天天的菜，对不对？
经常的吃，都喜欢吃猪耳。
哦，这样子，你们是因为喜欢这个口感，是不是？
喜欢吃，
喜欢吃，那也有这个口感，这个脆脆的。It's funny, isn't it? Because back in England, pigs is probably the cheapest, and people don't want that and actually discard it or mix into dog food. But here it's really prized and the most expensive part. Now she's got some baby spring onions.
Before it can be eaten, the pig's ear salad needs to soak for a couple of hours in the spicy dressing, which is of course made with chilies and Sichuan flower pepper. From all the activity, it looks like I'm in for more than the simple supper I was expecting. With typical Chinese hospitality, Mrs. Peng is preparing us a feast using every part of the pig.
你这个已经也是做好了啊。
哎，对，做了一个
This is like a bridge.
对
A bridge pork rib. It's a really wonderful way of steaming here. So just put water at the base and then put a plate over the top.
The wok is amazing. 这个锅没有办法拿出来的，拿不出来的。这是我们原始的做的，这就是灶，全部都是烧的柴火。哇，烧倒了，不行。
For her next dish, Mrs. Peng is making another local speciality, cherry pork made with soy sauce and a mix of caramelized sugar and a touch of vinegar.
哇，好香哦！喜欢吃这个吧？
这个我比较喜欢。
你可以尝一下。
哦，谢谢。
Oh, it's juicy, really tender and very sweet.
I'm planning to cook my hosts a dish using more of that delicious pork belly, a Sichuan classic called twice cooked pork.
这个好，
好。那我跟你讲，你这样
什么地方都有。我主要是你先做的，一个是吃来不成形。
这样吃。
Mr. and Mrs. Peng are clearly very particular about their food, and they both seem concerned that I won't stick to the traditional recipe.
不能那样吃。包括成都、四川的任何地方的回锅肉比较好吃的，我都去吃过。
好，就用这个做回锅肉。
你们有一般的酱油吗？
这就是酱油，这就是一般的酱油。
可是这是老抽，
老抽不行吗？
这是老抽，
这个行吗？这个。
The light is used for seasoning, for saltiness, and then the dark is used for color, to caramel it. Now, there's so many different variations of hui guo rou. She likes to use the lao chou, which is the dark soy sauce. But I like to mix a little bit, the light and the dark.
For my version of the dish, I'm starting with fermented black beans, mixing them with chili bean paste and frying the mixture in hot oil.
Mix together.
Twice cooked pork is essentially a stir-fry dish, using slices of pork belly that have already been boiled for half an hour.
I'm just going to add a little bit of the dark soy sauce and then a little bit of the light as well. A little bit of sugar.
The last ingredient in, as they only need a minute or so, are the spring onions.
Enjoy this. 就是一般你们会不会加一点那个辣油？
不用加，
不用加。
可以，但是不是，就是真正的回锅，就是四川回锅肉要熬得好。
He's so proud of, the Sichuan classic hui guo rou. This isn't even good enough for him. 你会吃吗？你可以尝，你要尝吗？试看看吗？
你尝。哦，
怎么样？太大了。
挺好。
好吗？
好。
潘先生，你觉得好吗？
好。就是有点咸。
有点咸。
可以。
但是。
He said it's okay.
不正宗。
It's salty, but it's not the real thing. But for Mrs. Peng, she said it's good. 哦，好厉害啊！
Mrs. Peng has made us so many classic Sichuan pork dishes, each using a different cooking method.
Doesn't it look amazing, all the dishes together?
不会做，只是一般的，我们每家的家庭妇女都会做。
你说这个就是绿色的。
彭阿姨。Dressing on this pixie is really good. It's very crunchy, cartilagey, but good.
特别是喝酒的，特别喜欢的。
This is Mr. Peng's daughter. Actually, I'm gonna ask her what she thinks of my hui guo rou, my twice cooked pork. 你尝一下吧，我想看你觉得怎么样。
好的，好的，不错，
好吃吗？
好吃，好吃。
She said it's good. It's got good taste. At least someone likes it.
As well as pork and flower pepper, there's another locally produced ingredient that Sichuan has made famous and defines the taste of the region. In the few days we've been here, everyone we've met has relied on it. If chili and Sichuan pepper are the heart of Sichuan food, then chili bean paste is the soul.
This is incredible.
Never seen anything like this in my life.
I feel like I'm walking into a cemetery or a monastery because it's so zen. It's a bit spooky and eerie.
At this factory in Pishan, just outside of Chengdu, they've been making the best chili bean paste in the world for over 300 years.
这个豆瓣是做了2年来了。
Oh, 2 years? This one's been aged for?
2年了，有5年嘞。
Wow, they have 3 years and 5 years.
The paste is actually very simply made from just 3 ingredients: broad beans, red chilies, and salt. It's then left to ferment in these earthenware crocks for up to 5 years.
That is really superb.
It's beautiful. It's sour, spicy, beany, just really intense.
Yes. It's funny, I would never say this is chili bean sauce.
Absolutely, and it's never this color
No.
anyway. So that just
Yeah.
means that they haven't been aged as long. The quality can that we've been cooking with
Well,
has been substandard with what we get back home.
The secret of this paste lies in the relentlessly damp Sichuan climate. The humidity in the air helps the years of fermentation, creating a chili bean paste unlike any other.
It's a little bit like wine. You know, when we do wine, we're talking about where the grapes come from, the terroir, what the French say.
Right.
And I think it's very much this, because this is the heart of what Sichuan cooking is about, this kind of damp, foggy climate that makes this kind of moody
Rich
chili bean
bean
sauce.
sauce.
That's the heart of this type of cooking.
Next time,
Looks like an ancient medieval city.
Really on the far fringes of China.
We'll explore a hidden side of China that feels distinctly un-Chinese. From the Wild West
This is like stepping back 2,000 years.
to the tropical jungle.
Look at the chicken head.
There's some Chinese tradition I don't like.
and find out how China's race to modernity is affecting these ancient cultures.
Sort of a Chinese Disneyland.